Before you explain what it is, we really have to talk about why this listener should care about custom domain tracking, because it sounds really boring. Like, just plain and simple, why do I need to know about this?
Because you're gonna get a deliverability boost and potentially a reply boost. Hey, what's up everyone? This is Jeremy, founder of QuickMail.io.
Hey, and this is Jack from emailsthatsell.com.
If we could give you a simple way to increase your deliverability rate by 6%, would you do it? Well, today you can. Together with Jack, we've been crunching some numbers, and it turns out there's something you can do right now to get more opens. Problem is, it's a bit technical, but luckily Jack will be there to translate my jargon into easy to understand and actionable steps. So if deliverability is important to you, and deliverability is a big thing these days, stay tuned and enjoy the show. Today I'm pretty pumped. We're going to talk about something technical.
Yep, and it was from my request. So if you're not into technical stuff like me, I promise you're going to want to stick around for it.
Nice one.
Okay, so let me kick it off, Jeremy, because like I said, I suggested this topic here. And before we get into it, there's a word in Japanese that is kaidama, kaidama, and that is what you say to the ramen chef when you'd like a little bit more noodles after you've finished your ramen portion, right? Do I have that right?
You do.
So there's something in email deliverability called custom domain tracking. And if you turn it on, that is an easy way to get a little bit more replies coming in, just like you get a little bit more noodles on your plate. So it's what I kind of think about as like a hack or a secret cheat to get a couple more replies in without really doing any other work. Do you agree with that statement?
We're going to see that soon. You know, it was our usual time, probably 1 hour and a half ago. We were thinking about what episode are we going to talk about. And then Jack just dropped the bomb and say, hey, Jeremy, do you fancy just crunching some numbers? I got an idea for a cast. And so an hour and 30 minutes later, after obviously I told him nah, I don't fancy doing that. Then I actually did it, and we got some numbers. So now we're going to present you the numbers. And
what numbers are we talking about here?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about 4 numbers. We're going to talk about open rate, with and without custom domain tracking. And for those who don't know what custom domain tracking is...
Wait. Don't even explain it.
All right.
Before you explain what it is, we really have to talk about why this listener should care about custom domain tracking, because it sounds really boring.
All right, fair enough.
Like, just plain and simple. Why do I need to know about this?
Because you're going to get a deliverability boost and potentially a reply boost. Actually, it's not potentially, it's visible in the stats.
And do I need a computer science PhD to understand or implement what we're about to talk about?
Yes, you do. That's why you got a better reply rate.
No, you don't need a computer science PhD.
So, should I go about explaining what custom domain tracking is?
Yes. Now that we know it's sort of an easy way to get some kaidama replies. Yeah, what is it?
So, custom domain tracking is simply removing the branding of QuickMail or any automation tool and use your personal domain name instead of the domain that the tool will give you.
So are you saying that every time I send an email with QuickMail, I'm being branded somehow with QuickMail? What does that mean?
Yeah, that's correct. QuickMail has a list of 20 or more different domains that we distribute amongst our users. And those users, if they don't set their own domain tracking, they're going to use one of us. And those are not that obvious names. It's I think we got ngm1.net or those sort of things, which doesn't relate to anything, but you're not in control of this. It could happen sometime that one of those domains get burned, and therefore you kind of get a side effect, the collateral damage kind of thing. So if you want to be in control of your own reputation, you're going to want to use your own domain for tracking.
I think I see what's going on here. So it's sort of like website hosting, where there's different plans you can buy. There's a dedicated server that hosts your site and only your site. And that is going to be more stable than another plan that's like shared hosting, where it's cheaper, but there's a bunch of other websites that share the same server. So if one of those websites gets a lot of traffic, your site could crash because you're sharing a server, right? You're like basically putting in your egg in the same basket with other cold emailers. Do I have that right?
Yeah, your analogy is not bad. I would tend to use a different one, which is, again, different plans. And instead of, if we go with Wix.net or .com, for example, right, you can potentially get a free hosting, and then it's going to be like email@sell.wix.net.
Right.
So you're going to use the Wix branding to some extent, or you can buy your own domain and then put it on top, and that way it's email@sales.com.
Right.
If you were to use Wix as a hosting provider. But the analogy is a bit better in this case because that's pretty much what's happening here.
So QuickMail is literally delivering the message for me using one of your different domains that you own.
Yes, and domain tracking is used for open rates, like, that invisible pixel that needs to be put into the email. There is a link to it, so that links will get branded with one of our multiple domains.
Okay.
But also for clicks and clicks detection when you click on a link, so it's click tracking.
Yeah.
Or also unsubscribe links, like if you add an unsubscribe link, you will also have something that redirects you with one of our domain tracking URL.
So just so I understand correctly, if a QuickMail user is not using open tracking or link tracking or unsubscribe links, are they affected by whether or not they have a custom domain?
No, they theoretically don't care.
So it's really just for those of us that are checking opens, and at some extent, I imagine overwhelming majority of cold emailers are checking open rates at some step of their sequence. Click tracking, see if you're getting any clicks, and like you said, unsubscribes. Okay, got it. So if you're checking any one of those, you probably need to get a custom domain right now. All right, so I think we're clear on what custom domain tracking is and who needs it. At this point, to kick off the show, you had mentioned we did about an hour and a half of data crunching. What did you find when it comes to the difference that setting up a custom domain helps? What difference does it make on our campaigns? Basically, we should figure out if it's worth taking the time to set it up. What's it going to do for us?
Right. So let's look at hard numbers here. If you're not setting up custom domain tracking, that means you're using my domain tracking, right? So bear in mind that I do take care of my domain tracking. So you're not going to have the worst of worst already blacklisted and stuff like that. We do monitor them, okay? But we've been taking the data of the last 3 months using QuickMail Next because the data are fresher and also because they're less skewed to some extent. Like there is a better mix between agency and proper users. So we don't have those huge, massive agencies that we have on the legacy yet being transferred over Next. So it gives us a better diversity of profiles. So we can trust those numbers better, in my opinion.
Okay.
And also they're fresher. So in terms of open rate, we move from 34%, so it's 34%, to 40%, which is...
just by turning on custom domain tracking.
Yes, that's right. And there is a knock-on effect on replies, of course. So I also check the replies, and we move from on average 6.1% to 8.6%. And bear in mind that those numbers are aggregates, an average of the entire user base of QuickMail Next.
So I guess the bottom line is just by putting custom domain tracking, you can basically assume you're going to get a 6% lift in opens. I mean, it's really more than that because it's a percentage of the current open rate you have, but you can jump from 34 to 40% pretty reliably with this one deliverability update.
Yeah, there's a caveat to this one, actually. Like I mentioned, I take really good care of all my domains. So if the person replaces the default domain tracking with their own one, and it happens that their own domain is blacklisted, then of course you're going to have a big drop.
Okay, good point. So is there anything we need to worry about monitoring our own domain if we decide to go ahead and set this up?
Yes, like we keep on saying, you and I, having a second domain for cold email is like a seatbelt, right? So you don't endanger your first domain in case something goes wrong. Equally, if you actually set domain tracking to be using your main website instead of, your cold email website, you run the same risks. So you have to be slightly careful as well as to what domain do I want to use, because all those links have a reputation attached to it.
I see. Is there any way we could make sure that we're keeping our custom domain healthy?
Yes, get some replies, get some engagement, get some interaction, send something people want to read, the usual stuff.
Of course. I'm just wondering if there's some sort of a test that you could run, like Mail Tester or something, in order to figure out if your domain is healthy, or if you should monitor just your opens and replies for that.
So that may be like a side note for the episode, but the new version of QuickMail actually do have automatic deliverability check on a weekly basis. So every Monday you receive your email and it tells you if you're inboxing or if you're going to spam folder. So that's an email I watch every Monday to figure out, are we still good or is there any problem?
Okay, I love it. So let's wrap up this episode now that everybody's sold on getting custom domain tracking set up. For QuickMail users, what's the easiest way to get this done?
Before I'm going to answer this question, actually, I want to add like one last piece of information, which is, just I'm a data geek to some extent. So, I apologize in advance for the business listeners. Also, this is interesting, actually. All right, let me cut to the chase. I've been doing some stats on how many % of users were using custom domain tracking on the legacy version of QuickMail, which is the old version of QuickMail, versus the new one. And I've been pushing really hard on the new version with education as to, guys, you need to set up your custom domain tracking. You're going to be in charge of your own reputation. Less emails going to be sent with this. So you're going to have, theoretically speaking, a longer time with good deliverability rate. So that's basically the idea behind it. So I've been pushing quite a lot. And when I looked at the stats today, I was kind of heartbroken, because the percentage of people having custom domain tracking on the new version is only 4.5%. So I'm like, gosh, what do I need to do? Do I need to, I don't know,
crack the whip a little bit?
Wear a cap, play the monkey stuff, doing, those monkey that do all the instruments and stuff, just so people can just pay attention to what I'm saying. But then I ran the same stats test on the old version, and the percentage of people having custom domain tracking on the old version of QuickMail was 0.8%. So overall, overall, I think I did a pretty good job on the next version. So hopefully this cast will encourage you to actually investigate that a bit better, because even I may have not sold it very, very well, in a sense of people may think this is too much work. It is actually a pretty good thing to do. And so now I can answer your question about how you're doing it, right, Jack?
Let's go. Let's dive in. How do I get this done?
All right. It's pretty simple, and it's a two-part answer. The first one is you go into your DNS management. This is where you set your SPF and DKIM. So that shouldn't really be totally foreign to you. It's where you set up, www is leading to this address, and, the basic stuff around your domain, right?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Now, all you're going to have to do is to add a new CNAME, which is basically a subdomain of your domain. So for email@sales.com, you're going to set up, for example, hello. And hello.email@sales.com is going to link to a different domain address. And that domain address, you can find it into the settings of QuickMail. So if you go into the settings, generals, you're going to have custom domain tracking, and it's going to tell you what you need to link it to. And that's a part 2.
And that's it?
That's it.
Do you have a resource that you can send people to if they want to see step-by-steps?
I think the best way really is, if you're quite unsure about how to do things, just hit us on support. Click on the button and then you'll get. But one thing I want to say is, I noticed that some people were actually going with tracking or click, or, so it'll be like track.
Oh, yeah.
.emails@sales.com, or it'll be like click.
Spam dot, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you have to be slightly careful with the word. That's why I like to say hello. It could be
mail,
monkey, whatever.
Okay.
But don't use those sort of like spammy words because they will still end up in your email somehow. So vigra.email@sell.com, probably not a good idea, Jack.
Okay, fair enough. Now we know. We've been warned. All right, Jeremy, thanks for taking me to school on custom domain tracking. Guys, it's really just kind of an easy way to get, let's say, 5 to 10% extra opens and definitely more replies just by doing this one thing. Why not? Get it done and you'll be better off for it.
There you go. Thanks, Jack.
Cool. Great cast. Well, if those stats don't convince you to set up custom domain tracking, I'm pretty sure nothing will. So here's your homework for tonight. First, go to your outbound tool. Next, click the support button, type, help me set up custom domain tracking. Okay, that's it. And make sure use hello or mail as your subdomain to avoid any issues. And remember, on average, people go from 34% opens to 40% just by doing those steps. So no excuses. And keep in mind, if your domain gets into hot water at any point, you can always go back to using QuickMail's default domains. So get it done. And if you like episodes like this where we bring in cold email data, let us know by sharing your feedback with us at podcast@quickmail.io.
Hey, cold emailer.
Yeah, you.
If you got some value from this episode, give us a high vibe by sharing a 2-sentence review on iTunes.
Or Stitcher, or TuneIn. That works too.
It's a quick way to help other growth-minded folks like us find this podcast
So they can send awesome emails.
and make everyone's inbox a better place. Thanks.